So you want to captain the Omaha. Well, do you like rapid firing guns? Do you like being the center of attention? And do you like being the first one to go back to port? Well, then the Omaha is for you. And if you are new to my channel, feel free to subscribe, then you'll be notified whenever I post the next So You Want a Captain series video. And let's begin with the Omaha. The history of the Omaha is kind of lackluster, to be honest with you. She was developed in 1915, laid down in 1918 for most of the class, and she was one of the oldest cruisers entering World War II, for the United States at least. Overall, the Omaha class doesn't have too much spectacular for her. She was basically one of the first light cruisers ever developed for the United States, more of the modern cruisers, and it shows. It shows a lot. So during World War II, though, there was no wartime losses of this class, but then again, there weren't that many left. And the Raleigh was hit by a torpedo at Pearl Harbor, and then the Marblehead did take some damage, but that's another video if we get there. But for the most part, only 2 ships ever took damage, and that's because the U.S. Navy knew the age of the ships, and they wanted to make sure that they were basically taking advantage, or weren't getting taken advantage of, to say the least. So they were located in regions that didn't have a high Navy presence of the enemy. So they basically were pretty boring ships, to be honest with you. A lot of training ships, too. And for the most part, after the Japanese surrendered, most of them, except for one ship, the Milwaukee, were pretty much scrapped instantly. And I do not blame them, because that ship had about a 35-ish year run. And of course, technology and everything has developed amazingly during that time period. So, let's talk about her in-game. In-game, let's just pull up the ship real fast here. In between these 2 points, you are a dead man. This is your citadel, basically, and this just makes you a target. So in between these 2 areas is just the death zone for you. And this is what Wargaming forgets to tell players, is that this is going to cause you a lot of pain if you're showing full broadside. Yes, you have a lot of guns, but you don't have to use them all. That's just something that does not, Wargaming never tells new players, and you don't really learn that until you're maybe like tier 7, 8, even if that, of angling. So, for the most part, do not show full broadside. That's tip number 1 for you, because the more you do, the bigger target you are, and also just everybody's guns just turn towards you, to be honest with you. The other thing that Wargaming did for this ship, which causes a lot of people to hate it because of the Citadel, is because they put torpedoes in. And to be honest with you, you only get torpedoes for the Phoenix and for the Omaha. After that, you never really get torpedoes ever again for the U.S. line. So it causes a lot of mixed reactions for at least new players, because new players are like, oh, I have torpedoes and that's my most damage. I would think about this differently. I would say, don't even think you have torpedoes. 5.5 kilometer range is not going to save you and not going to do enough damage. So keep that in mind. But just use your guns. Use your guns. That's what they're meant for. They have rapid fire. You're going to get a lot of damage in. And you don't have to show your whole entire broadside. You can just show basically your front. You have 5 guns up there. That's more than enough to get stuff done. As you can kind of see in this video that I've been doing. This was like one of the first times I came back to the ship after I realized, oh yeah, this is what I need to do to angle and everything like that to keep myself safe. So, with that being said, this ship is a support ship. I know that doesn't sound flashy or anything like that, but you want to stay with battleships, you want to stay further back, and you just want to keep shooting and try not to be the center point or be the spotlight. If you push too far up, you're going to be dead instantly because everybody just turns their guns on Omahas. They say free XP right there. There he is. So that's just something to keep in mind, is to make sure you are not on the front line. If you're on the front line, that's the reason why you are dying. So basically, Wargaming kind of does fail, to be honest with you, for new players, because this is the first time that they truly introduce citadels, I feel like, because battleships will actually start hitting you properly, cruisers can hit you properly, and DDs can hit you properly because they have just enough caliber. Now, granted, new players are probably going to be stuck on HE, some people might learn, but for the most part, just don't show your broadside. Don't go charging in. This ship is not meant for that. And that's kind of like where I feel like Wargaming doesn't teach new players very much, because lower tiers, they're a lot of fun and they're very chaotic, but you can get away with showing full broadside, you know, because usually most people will just over-penetrate or don't know where to aim. But as soon as you get to tier 5 and 6, that's where it becomes a nightmare for Omahas. So, keep that in mind. Don't show full broadside. Just keep firing with your main guns up front. Yes, you can still get penetrated from the front and get citadel from the front, but it's a lot harder. You're a very small target compared to whenever you're showing your whole entire port or starboard side. So, just keep that in mind. Now, here are the captain perks. I wouldn't recommend putting a 10-point captain into this ship, but the one thing I will recommend is at least putting priority target on you. This just helps you realize how many people are going to be shooting at you. As you can kind of see throughout this whole entire game, for the most part, I don't really have too many people. I probably have maybe like one person shooting at me. Towards the end, I realized there's multiple people targeting me, so I head for the hills, but just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind that you are probably going to be the first and center point. And if you keep that in mind, you are basically always going to be on like first target. That people will shoot Omahas over destroyers basically, which is kind of sad, but true because they're easier to kill. So basically, as soon as you get maybe 2 people on you, I would probably disengage and just, you know, hide for the hills. Don't fire, run away, get behind an island, do whatever. My pro strategy would say stick with a battleship, be a friend with a battleship, be the air support that they need, and also as long as you're firing your guns rapidly, you'll get a lot of damage. You don't have to be front line. Just keep that in mind. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I know this sounds crazy, but I used to hate the Omaha, and that's because I didn't know what I was doing whenever I had the Omaha. This was back like 3-4 years ago, and so I failed my way up. I'm gonna be honest with you, I failed my way up. But now coming back to the Omaha, it's actually a really good ship if you know what you are doing. If you're not showing full broadside, if you know not to overcommit, this ship can be really dangerous and really fun. So this ship is no longer my most hated ship anymore. So, with that being said, with that bombshell, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Please feel free to subscribe. It will mean the world to me, and you'll be notified whenever I post the next So You Want to Captain series. Also, get down in those comments. Let me know what ship you want to see next. And with that being said, thanks. Bye-bye.